When I was 13 years old, I had the unique privilege and opportunity to attend Scout Camp. Now, for those who have attended Scout Camp, you're probably familiar that the first thing every boy wants to do when they get out of their car is run off into the woods with their friends and start goofing off. Well, me and my 3 friends on this particular day decided that we better take the more responsible route and go and set up our tent first. And so that's what we did. We went and we laid down a tarp, we put the poles in the tent, we put the rain fly on, and we were good to go. The rest of the night, we decided we were going to play and do our thing. But there was another boy, and I'll call him Tyson. He was about a year older than us. And by this point, he had had enough of our goofing off and nonsense. And so he decided he was going to go off. He was going to set up his own tent. He was going to sleep in it by himself that night. And that's exactly what he did. Well, it came time to retire to our tents, and that's what we did. And around 11:30 p.m., we decided, or rather, we heard thunder crack, and the rain started to fall. And it started to fall hard. We didn't think anything of it. We had a rain fly up here to pitter-patter, put us right to sleep. We woke up in the morning, the clouds had passed, the sun was shining, and we realized Tyson hadn't woken up yet. And so we went over to his tent, we unzipped the zipper, and we peered our heads in, and we noticed he looked something like this. Now, I'm not exaggerating when I tell you his half-inflated air mattress was literally floating on about a half an inch of standing water that had entered his tent from the night before. Apparently, it set up his rain fly a little bit wrong. His stuff was just soaked. He was having a miserable experience. Now, for Tyson, sleeping was not the highlight of his camping experience. My name is Tim Haynes, and for the next few minutes, my purpose is to give you the knowledge that will help you make sleep the highlight of your camping experience. And to specifically do that, we're going to talk about hammock camping. Now, there's 4 big questions we need to ask ourselves when we're talking about hammocks, and those are the following. Number 1, why choose a hammock in the first place? The second question is, what are the different varieties of hammocks? And then that leads into the other 2 questions, which is, what's the ideal way to set up the hammock, and what is the non-ideal way to set up the hammock? Now, to move on to the very first question we're going to ask ourselves, that is, why choose a hammock? Now, first off, we're going to avoid situations that my friend Tyson got himself into. Generally, you're not going to have flooding in a hammock unless there's 2 or 3 feet of standing water underneath you. The second thing is it's going to provide a nice, gentle rocking motion that when you get in your hammock is going to put you right to sleep. The third thing is that generally they're very simple to set up. As opposed to me and my friends who were putting up tents and fidgeting with different things, they're very easy, very simple. And then fourth, it actually provides some different health benefits. If you have achy shoulders or a back, the cradling nature of the hammock actually helps out with that. Now, when you think of a hammock, you generally think of something like this. This is a traditional gathered end hammock, and these are the most common. And the reason they're the most common is because they're simple, they're lightweight, they're affordable, they're very easy to set up with only a couple different connection points, and they're generally made with a single piece of fabric or material which sustains the weight. But there's a couple different kinds of hammocks as well, and today we're going to specifically talk about 3 others. The first one is called the Hennessy hammock. And the Hennessy hammock looks similar to this. And you're going to notice this looks pretty similar to a gathered end hammock, and you'd be right by the fact that it still uses those 2 connection points. But it differs because it uses a rain fly and a bug net that can both be guyed out to help you get a little bit of airflow when you're asleep at night. The next type of hammock I'm going to show you, you're going to say, that's not a hammock, that's a suspended trampoline between 3 different trees. I would understand why you'd think that. The first thing you're going to notice is it uses 3 connection points. And this makes it beneficial because you can fit multiple people on it with more material. There's a couple different varieties of the tensile hammock, and this specific one includes a bug net or a transparent dome that will help you keep you safe in nature while enjoying it as well. The last tent we're going to talk about, you're going to say, I thought we were talking about hammocks. Why are we talking about a tent? I can assure you that this is still considered a hammock because it uses 2 connection points. The Haven tent is similar with the fact that it uses those 2 connection points and also is related to the Hennessy hammock specifically by the way that it uses the rain fly and a detachable bug net that you can also guy out. The thing that sets the Haven tent apart from other hammocks is that it uses a lay-flat design that's made possible by an inflatable air mattress. This is great because it will allow you to lay flat on your back, your stomach, or your side and still get the perfect night's sleep. So we've talked about 4 different types of hammocks so far, and now we need to talk about what's the ideal way to set it up now. Now, preferably we want to set it up in a place like this. You're surrounded by mountain vistas and a pond and wildlife, just having the time of your life. But in addition, there's 2 other guidelines that we need to keep in mind. Number 1, make sure your hammock is about 2 to 3 feet above the ground. The reason being is because with any product, there's always slight manufacturing defects here and there, and if it fails and you fall, you want to make sure you're not falling far enough that you're going to hurt yourself. The second thing is you want to make sure the trees and your connection points are 15 to 18 feet apart. And the reason that is because this is going to make it simple and also easy to set up. Now you're probably asking yourself, what do I do if the trees are further apart? Well, that's where something like whoopee slings come into play. Now whoopee slings are great because they use a technology similar to a Chinese finger trap, which when under pressure, allow it to lock in place. But as soon as the pressure's taken off, you can adjust it very simple. That will allow you to more than double your length. Now, what do you do if there's no trees at all? Well, this is where the non-ideal setup comes in. I like to call this the bivy mode. Now you'll notice with the picture on your left, this shows a gathered end hammock or a Hennessy style hammock placed on the ground with a tarp and using 2 trekking poles propping up each connection point will make you available to still use the hammock when there's no trees around. In addition, you can use guidelines to make sure those trekking poles stay in place. The picture on the right shows the same thing with the Haven tent. Now, we've specifically talked about the 4 big questions and we've answered them. Number 1, why hammock camp? Number 2, what are the different kinds of hammocks? Number 3, what is the ideal setup of a hammock? And what is the non-ideal way to set up a hammock? And with these 4 questions answered, you're now prepared, unlike my friend Tyson, to make sleep the highlight of your next camping experience.